Hey guys, it's Slushy and welcome back to another video. Now I know it's been a while since I did my last review on the Texas Chainsaw series, but here I am today bringing you guys another video on Texas Chainsaw. And this time it's going to be the final Texas Chainsaw video until we finally get another film. I don't know when that's going to be because we literally just got one this year, so I highly doubt it's going to be in the next year or so. So it's probably going to be at least 3 or 4 years before we get another film. So until then, this will be my final Texas Chainsaw review. Besides the Texas Chainsaw video game, whenever that comes out. But either way, I'm going to start from least to number 1. So, starting at number 9, Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. I feel like it goes without saying that this is one of the worst films in the series. I feel like almost everybody would put this at least near the bottom of their list, if not at the very bottom. I don't feel like there's anything redeeming about it besides Matthew McConaughey's extremely unhinged portrayal of Vilmer. That's pretty much it. The film sucks. It falls flat. It literally has no redeeming qualities besides Matthew McConaughey. Renee Zellweger's fantastic, but she just doesn't really stand out in this film. She's just kind of there. The plot's really stupid, but like I said, Vilmer, he's a positive. So there you go. There's my one positive for Texas Chainsaw 4 or Next Generation. Coming in at number 8 is Leatherface from 2017. Now, I have an interesting opinion about this film. For a long time, I really, 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 really hated this film. But over time, honestly, I think I've come to appreciate it more, and I actually quite enjoy it significantly more than I ever used to. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe I just have finally come to terms with the fact that it's not a very accurate portrayal of Leatherface, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it's still a fantastic horror film based around Texas with a chainsaw wielding maniac killer. Even though it's not really Leatherface in my opinion, but still, it's a good film. It's a good horror film. If you're a fan of horror and you're a fan of slashers, I feel like Leatherface will definitely satisfy your needs for a bloody, action-packed slasher film. I mean, it might not be 100% Texas Chainsaw, but it's a damn good film either way. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. So going on to number 7 though, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Dose 2. For a long time I really hated this one as well because I always thought it was a film that tried to be serious but instead wound up being extremely goofy and ridiculous. And I still don't appreciate so much the fact that it's a really goofy film. And I'm not saying like I don't appreciate that Tobe Hooper went and made a comedy or a parody of his original film, because that's what this is essentially. Is he made this film to be a parody of Leatherface in the film itself. So if you watch this film and you wonder, why is this film so funny? Why is it so goofy? Why is Leatherface acting like this? It's literally meant to be taken as a parody. Kind of like Scary Movies, like a parody of like a bunch of other, random horror films like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer and all kinds of other films. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is essentially a parody film of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1. So, I don't know, man. I don't fully appreciate what he was trying to do with that film just yet. Maybe I'll come around on it at some point in the future. I have no idea. Just like I did with Leatherface. I've hated that film for a long time. I'm definitely coming around on it for sure. All because it's ranked number 8 does not mean I don't appreciate it, believe me. Everything besides Next Generation on this list is fantastic in my book. Or at least it's not. If it's not fantastic, it's at least pretty damn good and it's watchable. Like Leatherface, I think is pretty watchable. TCM2 is definitely watchable, especially if you love comedy horror. I know putting TCM2 so far down the list is extremely controversial because most people really love TCM2. But I'm cool being the minority. I don't appreciate it quite yet. Maybe I'll come around on it, but for right now, number 7 is TCM2. Coming in at number 6, Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning from 2006. So, this is where it gets to the point where I have no faults with the films whatsoever. Like from here on, I have nothing negative to say about the films whatsoever. So, dude, this is an extremely brutal portrayal of Leatherface. It's a no-holds-barred Leatherface. Andrew Berniarski as Leatherface in both this and the 2003 film is fantastic. It's really hard to top a portrayal like what he did. Like, it's extremely difficult. I feel bad for anybody who had to fill his shoes after, whether it be Dan Yeager or Mark Brent, I forget his name. I already literally have forgotten the guy's name who played in Leatherface 2022 right here. I think it's Mark something. But either way, I feel really bad for those guys having to step in the shoes of Andrew Barniarski. They're pretty damn big shoes. I'm surprised they fit him, but they definitely did. But this film is extremely bloody. It's got a great ending, surprising ending for sure. If you guys have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It definitely kind of shocks you to your core. You're like, whoa, shit. That's my opinion on that. So it comes in at number 6. Coming in at number 5, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Leatherface. That's literally the title. It's the full title. I really love this film. I actually just got a shirt of it somewhere around here. But I really love this film. I feel like the portrayal of Leatherface by Ari Mihailov is just fantastic, you know, and Kane Hodder makes an appearance as Leatherface for a scene or two. You don't actually see it's Kane Hodder, but he does like the stunt work and stuff. But dude, this film is fantastic. I don't understand the hate behind it, and I think honestly it's one of the most underrated films in horror history. And I'm actually pleased to see that so many people are actually kind of like coming around on the film. It's getting my popularity these days, for real. Well, anyways, that's just my opinion on TCM3. I literally just, I don't understand why it used to get so much hate, but now it seems like it's on the upswing. I literally ran into somebody at Walmart yesterday, and I was wearing my TCM3 shirt, and somebody was like, dude, that's an awesome shirt, and he fist bumped me. I was like, did that just happen? I mean, if I was wearing like Halloween or a Jason shirt, a Friday 13th shirt, or like a Child's Play shirt, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did that. But the fact that it was a TCM3 shirt, wow, it just means that TCM3 is really on the upswing. So either way, TCM3 comes in at number 5. One of my favorite films, period. Coming in at number 4, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 2003. And now I feel like this remake is always going to be at the top for me. I don't see it ever leaving the top 5. It's just phenomenal. I mean, it expands upon the original film while also being completely new and unique. It's like it does a lot of the same stuff the original did, but it also ups the gore, ups the tension, ups the suspense. It's quite a bit more exciting and thrilling. The plot's definitely written a hell of a lot better. There's a lot of things that they do really well and they excel at in this film, and also the portrayal of Leatherface by Andrew Barniarski, again, major positive. So TCM3 is always going to be in the top 5 for me. I don't see how it can ever go down any more than what it already is at number 4. So there you have it, TCM3 at number 4. I mean TCM 2003 at number 4, my bad, shit. Okay, so I literally have it written down on this clipboard here because I literally can't remember sometimes the placement of things, so I have to write shit down, otherwise I'll fucking forget, you know. ADHD, man, it's a fucking killer, seriously. So coming in at number 3, one of my longtime favorite films in the series, Texas Chainsaw 2013. Now this is going to be controversial for sure because most people do not like this film. It's written by Adam Marcus, or a version was written by Adam Marcus, and they completely butchered his version. But however, he still gets writing credit for the film. I feel like they just love to like shit on Adam Marcus because it's like all these incidents that have occurred on Adam's films. It's like people just enjoy ruining this guy's life or attempting to ruin this guy's life. It's like because they're like, yeah, let's just give him the full credit. That way he looks like a shitbag whenever people hate on the movie. When in actuality, it's not even his version of the script that you're actually watching. It's just little tiny fragments that he wrote that are implemented into the script, and then the studio meddled and then basically created their own hodgepodge of various scripts and just threw it together, and then boom, Texas Chainsaw 13 happened. And I know a lot of people hate it for that reason, and I probably should hate it for that reason because I'm a big fan of Adam Marcus. He's an awesome guy. He's a true horror fan. Loves horror films just like the rest of us. And I really appreciate that about him. Also, he acknowledges his fans and he appreciates his fans, so that's always awesome. But either way, I probably should hate the film, but I still think it's an entertaining film, and it's easily one of the best Texas Chainsaws. That even said, with the studio meddling, there's some things about this film, I'm just going to say it, that really aggravate me, but not enough for me to hate this film. The whole, do your thing, cuz, it's like, that just feels like somebody who's like 60 years old was like, I know how kids talk nowadays, let me write that in. And it's like, it just comes off extremely cringy, and I totally feel why some people hate the movie for that. I can't. I just don't feel like that justifies the movie being totally bad because of a scene or two being extremely cringy, you know? It's just, and also the whole, people make a huge deal out of the timeline, and also this line from the film, "Welcome to Texas, motherfucker," whenever the girl shoots at Leatherface with a shotgun, and it's like, you're not even from Texas, dude. People make that argument. It's like, dude, just let it go. It's a slasher film. Like, do we really go and analyze Halloween like it's some kind of like science experiment? Like, oh, Michael Myers, what's Michael Myers doing here? Look at Michael Myers. You know, if you do that, you're going to ruin the film. I mean, slasher films are not meant to be deep from the get-go. So when you start overanalyzing a film that's not deep from the get-go, you run into a shit ton of problems because they're not deep. So when you start unraveling something that's not meant to be unraveled, you start to see like the issues with it. Obviously, that's going to happen all the time. Hell, I could look at Halloween right now and point out a million faults with it, but I'm not gonna, because I love that film, and I know that it has faults. You just got to own up to this shit, just like the original Texas Chainsaw, which I'll get to at some point here. But that's my opinion on 2013. It's just a super controversial opinion, so I had to get through that. I'm sorry I talked so much about that, but it's a whole process. Moving on to my number 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. Did I say 2022? Either way, 2022. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. On Netflix. If you guys haven't seen it, go watch it. It's still on there, and it's still one of the top watched films, I'm pretty sure. So, dude, let me just say that this film is badass. I don't want to talk too much about it because it is a newer film. You know, it came out in February, so I don't really want to get into too much of it. But I will say that this film, if you guys haven't seen my review, this film is fantastic. It's extremely bloody. The most violent film in the series, for sure, no doubt. Oh my god. If you're a fan of blood and gore, this film is up your alley. Like, don't look for like a super deep plot, while it does actually have a pretty decent plot in my opinion. And people want to make this film out to be like some kind of like political statement, but it's really not. You know, it basically just mentions how people use guns improperly. That's kind of one of the messages in the film. It's not like, oh, you know what, people shouldn't have guns. People always want to take it to the extreme. No, that's not the message behind this film. It's kind of like, you know, the right people should get a hold of guns. You know, not like people who shouldn't have them, like people who shoot up schools. There's a moment in the film which would definitely be controversial now due to all the shootings that's happening nowadays, which I feel terrible for everybody that's going through all that stuff. But there's a moment in the film where the character explains and reveals that she was a part of a school shooting, like she was in one, and she had to play dead amongst all her friends and stuff that were being massacred around her in order to survive. So it's like, you know, it's a statement on, you know, the right people can have guns, but the people who are like that should not have guns. People who are shooting up schools and committing crimes, they shouldn't get a hold of them. So that's, I mean, it's not really like, you know, trying to take your guns away or nothing. Like, I don't understand people. I feel like people just like whining because there's really nothing political about this film whatsoever. The social commentary is, like I said, is pretty much that. And honestly, the people who want to say that it's about young people gentrifying places and stuff, and the producers thinking it's okay for gentrification, is honestly hilarious, because the film is literally a commentary on basically why it's not okay. So people make no sense. Did you watch the film? Because it's pretty fucking obvious you didn't. If that's your complaint, unless you tell me that the film was just bad, you didn't enjoy it, that's a legit complaint. But using that as a reason, you sound really stupid. I'm just saying. Because it's obviously 100% not a commentary on gentrification being okay, or people who should take your guns away. That's literally not it at all. Okay, but anyways, that's my number 2. It's a fantastic film. If you guys haven't seen it, go watch it. If you have a Netflix subscription, get on it ASAP. It's fantastic. Coming in at number 1, you guessed it, is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974, the immortal classic. Now, I do want to say that this film is not without its faults. I mentioned this earlier. Unraveling a film is definitely going to reveal its faults. But it's not without its faults, much like the other films in this series. And I totally, you know, own up to that. You know, it's not a perfect film. It's definitely not a perfect film. Almost no film in history has been perfect. There's always some little flaw that you could pick at. But I think that this film is fantastic. You know, it's disturbing without using too much blood and violence. You know, I'm somebody who enjoys both. You know, a suspenseful terror-filled ride and also extremely bloody and suspenseful ride. So I like both of those, and this film definitely leans more into the suspenseful and disturbing type of category because it doesn't really focus on the violence. It focuses more so on the trauma that it brings to the characters, which is honestly probably more interesting, honestly, than showing a shit ton of blood and gore, because it's like you could see like whenever when Sally is experiencing stuff, like particularly the dinner scene in this film, you could just see how much it's impacting her to the point where she's going beyond insanity. She's going absolutely batshit crazy because of what this family's putting her through. And I think that's honestly the best thing about this film is it didn't need the shock factor of the gore and stuff. It literally provides a shock factor by being absolutely completely dark and devilish in the way that it handles certain scenes. And also apparently that was an extremely long shoot for them to do. And it was an extremely painful thing. And also, apparently, whenever you see her get hit across the head with the hammer thing, it was real. Like, she actually gets her head hit open, apparently, because I watched a documentary, and they dude literally said that actually happened. And that's actually real blood that you see coming out of her head. I don't know how true that is, but that's pretty crazy, dude. Wow, man. Just wow. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974, man. Let me just say, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the best films ever made in history. Just saying. Honestly, I'd actually put a good portion of these films as some of the best horror films made, period. I'd definitely put all of my top 5 or 6 probably in the top, I don't know, 200 or so. And I know that doesn't sound like a huge thing, but you got to understand there is a lot of horror films out there. And I've seen a shit ton of horror films, and to even have these in the top, any of them besides the top 3 in the top 200 is pretty impressive, considering, like I said, there is a shit ton of horror films that I've seen. So either way, man, that's my ranking of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Of course, the classic comes in at number 1, and I would want to give you guys a refresher. Next Generation comes in at last, by the way, just in case you forgot. Just want to put that in there, just so you guys remember that it's last. It sucks. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this. Hit like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the bell to get notified anytime I make a video or stream. Keep it in the channels. Also English. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.